You're tuned in to the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla Calendar and Andrew Yagi. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go.
We're on episode 101, Andy. How do you feel about that?
I feel like we've made it.
Looks like we made it. Again, Shania Twain. We will have that intro next time.
Somewhere between Shania Twain and Dr. Dre next episode.
Dr. Dre, we could do that. And your keyboard and that. I love it. I love it.
We'll do music one day, Kayla.
We will. I don't know if I'll play the tambourine or sing or what. I could play the flute. Yeah.
Cowbell, spoons. We'll get some variety.
We'll get something going. But I'm excited for today's episode. This is going to be a little bit different, a little dive into an interrogation / questioning of each other today. And so I'm excited for that. But before...
I'm a little nervous since I'm in the hot seat.
Don't be nervous, Andy. I'm interviewing you today. You don't have to be nervous. I won't ask you. I did offer to give you the questions beforehand, and you said no. So
you said we had a time constraint, so it's like, boy, we better get on with the episode, Kayla. Because hey, I think things are getting a little busier. I know I get about 10 emails in my inbox every day talking about it's time to refinance. Rates are the lowest they've been in 4 years. Kayla, should I refi?
It just depends on your situation. Yes and no. It depends. We are seeing a lot of people that are inquiring, even people that can save a couple $100s per month. Some are saying no, they want to wait and see what happens. And it's been busy with a lot of conversations. Even the clients that shouldn't refinance now, it's still worth a conversation to say, hey, I know what you're seeing and hearing. Probably not the time, but let's talk about this in the next, month or two. Let's keep our pulse on it. So yeah, it's heating up though. Are you seeing the market pick up in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, we're certainly seeing more homes hit the market, more individuals who are getting curious about buying. I think just this week I met with 3 sellers, actually just in the last couple of days, who are ready to go, ready to make a move. So yeah, I'm ready. Bring it on.
It's heating up, and I had 3 contracts this week, all with seller concessions. I just got another one for $4,000. We're seeing people being able to take the time to think about the purchase and negotiate, and that's fun to see. But I am feeling that this year, people aren't going to have the time to be thoughtful as much as they have in the past because of the competition with rate softening. So
yeah, I just about an hour ago in my office had a couple, and we were talking about the market, and of course everyone who's selling, we want as much money as possible. Buyers want the best deal. Sellers don't want to give, and we just talk about what it's been like and how it seems like ancient history, but 21, 22, 23 or so, just how crazy the market was, and just how I don't miss that market. I mean, there were some nice pieces to it, but boy, it's a more relaxed market where we have time to be a little bit more deliberate, to look at our options, and it's better.
It makes a difference when people can think about the biggest purchase of their lives. It does. So, okay. Well, knowing that we're on a time constraint, because Kayla always has to go to the next thing, I want to dive in. Let's do this. And I've had people say, I wish you guys talked more personal. I love when you guys kind of stray away from real estate, but it's not even that. I think that you and I are both people that want what's best for everybody. We're always excelling, wanting to be better, and making
too much so sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. But I think today we want our audience to just let's get to know Andy a little bit today. And we're going to do a little, maybe rapid fire, depending how quickly you decide to answer these questions. But I think it's important that our audience gets to know us. They get to know us on a deeper level, because we put out 100 episodes. We're one-on-one. Let's get to know the people behind the microphones, right?
Do it.
Let's do it. Okay, Andy, I'm going to start. Okay.
Here we go.
I don't know. You don't even seem nervous. You're just so chill. Okay. What is something, Andy, that you've changed your mind about in the last 5 years?
Oh boy, something. That is
Yeah,
a
I
deep,
told you.
that is a deep question right off the bat, Kayla.
Well, I'll ease into it after here.
So deep. Okay. All right. What is something that I've changed my mind about in the last 5 years? Um, boy,
I
you're
told
really,
you.
you're really putting me in a spot.
We can come back to it.
I would say just as I've made some big changes, 5 going on 6 years in real estate. Um, just in terms of career and finality and some of that. Like I jumped into funeral service, grew up on a family farm, worked in funeral service, and I thought, hey, this is something that I'm making a lifelong commitment to.
Yeah.
And then circumstances change, life changes, and hey, I'm always open to growth. I'm open to different opportunities. Um, so I think that just the whole career and whole life path in general for me is,
Hmm.
something that probably took a big shift,
Yeah.
but 5 going on 6 years.
That's what I was thinking you would say was that just the career shift. And yeah, as you get older and you have kids and things change. So, but it's been a good shift for you, your
It's
career.
been a really great shift. It's been great. And I look at some of the things like I was looking at buying some funeral homes. I was looking at maybe even some other opportunities and, just had a lot of doors closed in my face. I've had some friends and other people that say, wow, you seem to succeed where I tend to struggle. And boy, you're just everything you do goes very well. But rarely do individuals ever see, all of, the failures and all of the things that don't go right, Kayla.
Exactly.
And there are a ton of them. I've had a ton of things that haven't gone my way. Um, so yeah, that's maybe my answer.
Okay, I like that. Okay, I started off a little harder than I probably gave you a clue into, but okay, let's shift to real estate a little bit more in depth. What's the difference between what you would say is a good realtor and a great realtor? Because we know you're a great realtor. What are you seeing as the defining difference from good to great in this industry?
Mhm. So I think the difference from, excuse me, Kayla, from good to great is, someone. I mean, obviously, every agent, every lender, fundamentally they do the same tasks. We will go, we'll list a property. We're going to put a sign out. We're going to work to get it sold. You may,
Mhm.
reach your goals with any number of agents, but I think from good to great, I think two things. Excuse me. I think that number one, communication. Number two, marketing. So
Mm.
where we really knock it out of the park for our clients is really a great comprehensive marketing program using video, social media. We're working AI agents and AI components in, to really prospect anytime we list a property, and then communication, just staying in touch on a weekly basis. The number of times, Kayla, where we come back and we work with someone who maybe didn't sell their home with somebody else,
Mhm.
and they're basically we're sitting down and we're talking, and I'm like, well, what kind of feedback did you get? Well, feedback, we never heard anything from our agent. It's like, well, boy, we all have access to systems that give automated feedback anytime an agent leaves it. Like, how did you get that? So communication and marketing, Kayla.
Okay, and I feel like you and your team are doing that well. And before we even hopped on, you were showing me AI stuff, and I love that you guys just adopt with tech and the way that the world works. Because if you don't, you get left behind. So I
I,
love that for you.
I'm super excited about technology and AI, and I showed you a few of the rabbit holes that I've kind of been going down this week. And even it was a lot of fun visiting with my team earlier in the week as we kind of talked about AI, and I showed them some of the things that we've been working on and how it really is, not only going to set us up for success, but also our clients.
Hmm. Well, and that's just it too. Is like your clients, they deserve that, And I'm excited to see what your team does because you are always on the edge of that. So, okay, should I continue with some easy ones or should I ask some hard ones?
Dealer's choice.
Okay, here's one I have for you. Hmm. What is one thing that a lender does that drives you crazy?
One thing a lender does that drives me crazy is reaches out to me and wants to get together and have coffee and wants me to do business with them or send them business. Um, we get hounded by an inordinate amount of lenders, and
Mm,
hey, they're prospecting just as agents would probably prospect for clients. And, obviously the marketplace is very full with lenders as it is real estate agents. So obviously they see our team is growing. We've got a lot of momentum. We're doing a lot of things right. They want to work with us, and I get it. But I always have the mindset of, hey, if you send me some business, I will reciprocate.
Mhm.
But if you're just out here trolling and just thinking that I'm going to entrust you with my clients when I don't know you from Adam, you're wrong.
Mhm. Love that. Okay. So, what do you do? I didn't have this down, but what do you do when a lender reaches out and says, "Hey, can we grab coffee sometime or lunch?" Do you ghost them? Do you say, "Hey, I'll get back to you"? Do you say, "Hey, I'm good"? Like what's your response?
Depends on my mood.
Oh, true.
If they catch me on a good day, it depends. I try to connect with people because, hey, I like we talk, your network's your net worth, and you never
Mhm,
know where it'll be good to have another contact or where there
mhm.
may be an opportunity down the road. So I would say I do try my best to reconnect with everyone. Do I in practice? No, no, I probably don't. But
Yeah.
I try to visit with people.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. An easy one. What's one book that you would recommend to anybody to like whether they're a friend or a family member or a client or a colleague? What's one book you would recommend today?
Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert
Okay.
Kiyosaki.
Okay. Wow. I should have guessed that. I thought you were going to say, hold on. Hold on. It's not Never Split the Difference. It's the Full Fee Agent.
Multi-agent, that
Yep.
is a good one, but I wouldn't. I mean, that doesn't necessarily apply to anybody. I mean, it's more sales driven, but Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think, is a transformative book that could
Yeah.
really, impact most anybody. Whether or not it's the right fit, you have to decide if you read it. But
Yeah.
but it's a great book.
Awesome. Okay. Next one. Who did you vote for? I'm kidding. You don't have to answer that. Moving on. Okay. Moving on. What is the craziest, and you don't have to go into detail, but what's the craziest or most emotional thing you've experienced in real estate with a client that you've seen?
Yeah. I on a few occasions I would say, and I've shared this several times, and I never downplay how difficult death is, Kayla. And I know that you've had a lot of loss in your family personally as well.
Mhm,
But having worked in funeral service for 15 years, I thought
mhm,
that real estate would be easier. And some days it's harder than working in funeral service. The emotions that come out, keeping in mind, we deal with death, we deal with divorce, uh,
mhm,
we deal with, some tough situations, tough financial decisions, business
mhm,
decisions that lead to maybe the loss of a home. But I can think of a couple where, some individuals, something didn't go their way or deals fell apart, and just how awful uh,
mhm,
some of these clients were. And, one in particular I really think of earlier in my career and, higher end property and just not very nice people. And I really learned because, of course, when you're young, like, I don't know about you when you got into the mortgage biz, but when I first got into real estate, like, I was like, boy, like, I'm so worried I'm going to screw something up that I'd be
mhm,
up at night agonizing about things. And now it's like cool as a cucumber. Like, we're going to roll with
mhm,
and definitely not going to let anybody walk all over you. We're just, you've got to shut it down. You've got to set expectations. You got to be that neutral party. You got to be that sounding board, but you
yes.
can't let people treat you poorly.
And you're right. I think it's like how you treat people during, when you're heated or upset says a lot about you. But when you can keep your cool, like I feel like that's a whole next level of maturity. Is how do you handle things when things are going wrong? Like that says so much about you. And the clients that I have that handle things like low appraisals, or you want to know what, we make mistakes every now and then, we make it right, but how they treat you with the response says so much. It's wild. So I
Right
love.
on.
Okay. So funeral service is less emotional than real estate, basically.
On average, I would say from what I experienced.
Okay. Good to know. I haven't been in that business, but I definitely see emotions in real estate. So, okay. What is one tech tool? So, from watches to gadgets to whatever that you've purchased in the last year that you would recommend to somebody today?
Ooh, good question. I think it's really hard to beat overall, like the Apple ecosystem in general. Like I look at having my Apple Watch, I've got my iPhone, I've got my MacBook Pro, I've got my AirPods. I mean, I can run my life with all of that. I've got a new
Mhm.
Mac Mini sitting in my back office that I'm going to run a Claude or Moltbot or whatever they call it these days, and
Yep.
run a team of AI agents. I honestly think my Apple ecosystem is probably what I'd have to go with.
You want to know what's wild is I had coffee with someone this morning that said the exact same thing. They talked about how they had, is it an AirBook? Is that what it's called? Apple AirBook, and it like is transformative and it's fast. And I was seeing her text, and I never do this on her tablet. And I'm like, that's so, or not text, but like type text messages. I never do that. I'm like, that's next on my list. But Andy, you did recommend to me the Remarkable.
Yeah, the
I
Remarkable is
still
great.
use.
Hmm.
And Andy, you recommended to me, you probably don't remember this, but years ago you recommended Popple to me, which is a digital business card.
Yeah.
I have used that way more than anything. I like
Really?
any link ever. So look at you being an influencer.
I think after my one fell off my phone case, I didn't use it again, but I'm glad that you are.
I love it. I love it. So thank you for providing all the feedback to help lift people up with their technology needs. So, okay, next. Ready for this one?
Ready.
Have you ever had a deal fall apart the day of closing?
Yes.
Hmm,
I have had deals fall apart the day of closing.
okay. Is
Yeah.
that, do you remember why?
In some cases, one recent case, I never did get an answer. The
Oh,
agent on the other end, I guess they did what they were supposed to do. But, it really frustrates me with people sometimes, Kayla, when, it's like, hey, we have to work with obedience, with loyalty, confidentiality to our client who we're representing. But there's also a piece about being cordial to other professionals, whether that's a
yeah.
lender, whether it's another agent. And I see some individuals, who just don't act that way and will not respond, will not pick up the phone, very cryptic. And hey, you don't owe me anything, but I'm also I'm going to remember that, down the road, especially if we're in a
Mhm.
competitive situation. And, there were some agents that don't have good reputations,
Yeah.
and it might cost their clients down the road.
Mhm. Yeah, it definitely can. Interesting. Okay. What's something people assume about you that is completely wrong? Were you expecting these questions or were you expecting more?
I was not. I was not at all, Kayla. What do people, I think some people assume, some people will see me, and, those that know me know that, I could be lighthearted and all over the board and, fun loving, and we can have a good time. But I think some people are intimidated by me because sometimes, like, I can be a very direct person. I can, yeah, a little bit. I can be very direct. And I'm very, like, purposeful, driven, like, and there were just a lot of days like, hey, I'm on a mission, and I'm boom, boom,
Mhm.
flying all over the place. And I think people observe that, and I do have a lot of competencies as well. So I think sometimes that's intimidating. Also, I think just the directness. I've had people say that, well, so and so's afraid of you. Like they're afraid to come talk to you because just the perception. So
Huh, interesting. Hmm. Okay. I was not going to guess that, but that's interesting to hear. Okay. All right. Love that. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a couple like more quick questions and then I'm going to finish with one like final one. So
sure.
kind of rapid fire. How many siblings do you have?
Three siblings.
And what is the age difference between all of you?
So basically a 10-year spread.
Okay. And where are you originally from?
Thief River Falls. Well, kind of Brooks, Minnesota, small farm town, but
Okay.
we'll say Thief River because that's where I graduated high school.
Okay. Okay. When you went to high school, you went to, school, junior high, high school. Were you an honor roll student? Hmm.
Yeah, I Yeah, I think I was. I think are we talking high school or college?
High
Because
high
when I
school.
left NDSU, I was on academic probation officially. So,
What were you? Stop it. Well, that's because you had a full-time job and you were doing all the things that we should have been doing.
well, I was actually tending to business. I mean, I worked
Yeah.
more than full time, and yep, I mean, we had plenty of time to go out and be social. I don't think you didn't miss a mug night. I know I didn't, Kayla, when we were in college. But
Yeah,
it's about the relationships and everything. Do you remember the spring of '09 when we graduated?
you sure do.
Remember how many weeks we didn't have school for?
Was it like 6?
I think it was like 3. We had spring break
Oh,
off, and then it was another 2, maybe 3
flood.
weeks we didn't have school.
Yeah.
Well, then all the teachers were trying to cram to get everything in so we could graduate. And I just kind of had to buckle down. It's like, okay, I know I'm going to graduate. I know I'm going to go to mortuary school. Um,
Mhm.
and looking at that, I said, hey, I know I need to get these grades here. I can get a C here. I can get a D here if I have to. I really don't care. I don't have time to focus on all of this. You know what my GPA was last semester at NDSU?
I was going to ask you this question. I'm like, I better not ask him, but please share.
Guess.
Was it 2.6?
It's like 1.5. It was so bad because again, like I was working a tremendous amount of hours, and hey, I had to put my focus where it needed to be. And hey, I graduated. I
Yep.
got to you. I got my second bachelor's degree, and I probably had a cumulative GPA of like 2.6. No doubt that really drug the GPA down. But at the end of the day, and like I tell even some that have come through my office that I mentor, college is a great investment from a relationship standpoint. The academic piece, not so much.
Agreed.
And I guess I'm living proof of it, I think, because I was a member of a fraternity at NDSU. I technically got expelled because I didn't want to live in the house anymore and they were going to charge me full rent, but I still do real estate with them. I just sold that fraternity a house that they had in North Fargo and worked with, some of my former brothers that I still keep in touch with. So not that I was expelled for nefarious reasons, but it was kind of a business deal.
Well,
So
yeah.
the relationships, not the academic scale.
And I was going to ask you, I was going to actually end with like, when we think about what's required when you graduate and what's important, and I think the motto was C's get degrees. I think that's what we said sometimes because I was so nervous, but at the end of the day you graduate. But what came out of college for me was those relationships, and it wasn't about macro and micro econ. Yes, it's important. Yes, your degree is important, but I'm so grateful for the relationships, and as you said, your network is your net worth, and in our business relationships are everything. So, okay, let me ask you this. Let me end with this because this has been kind of all over. And when it's my turn, maybe you'll take it easier on me. But if if someone was getting into just in general, they're graduating high school, and I want to focus on this because people are starting to graduate here in a couple of months. I know my niece, she's coming to Fargo. As we think about this, it's a topic that I've had conversations with clients, but what would be one thing or maybe multiple that you like piece of advice that you would give somebody when they're like, okay, I'm done with high school, what's my next step, or I want to get into to some type of work. I think a lot of people try to decide, do I go to school, do I jump into real estate? Like, what would you recommend someone 18 years old as a path forward, not really knowing what they want to do? What would be some advice you would give them?
More than anything, get out there and have experiences. Never say no to an experience, even if you think it's not a good experience or it's a bad experience. It's still going to be a good experience, Kayla.
Mhm.
I would say if you can afford to attend a four-year college and it isn't a financial burden, go
Mhm.
do it. I mean, I would not trade my time at NESU or the U of M for anything. Two great, very different experiences. But like in the case, like I've got a younger, I'll call him a kid working for me. He just graduated high school and he had enough credits basically to have an associate's degree, was going to go to NDSU. He interned with me and we kept talking and he said, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want the debt. I'm going to have to take loans. I said, the relationships are worth it. The academics, not so much. So he decided to stay here, got his real estate license and is kind of continuing, his mentorship under me and my team. and, you know, going to get experiences different ways. I said, hey, you might think you're missing out once in a while. Go up and see your buddies on the weekend. Go up
Mhm.
and hang out, but get out there, get experiences, regardless of whatever path, and don't just go through the motions. Kayla, I had classmates, I'm sure you did too, that went and got 4-year degrees and went to a private school and had 100 grand in student loan debt and had nothing to show for it. That's
Mhm.
a bad decision. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, again, if you can get a full ride, or if there's family money and money isn't
Mhm.
an object, I still don't think that's a good idea. But get out
Mhm.
there, meet people, get
Mhm.
experience.
Mhm. I agree. And when I look, I mean, I see credit reports every day and I see student loan debt every day. And yeah, like they get racked up for, doctors, things like that. But ultimately it's like, what do you plan to do? And if you don't have a path, not that you asked me this question, but if you don't have a path, no one says just go and spend the money. Like maybe you take a year off to think about it. Maybe you travel abroad. I never did that, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's like I see these young individuals and they're hustling and they're ready to work. And like when you have that mindset and you meet the right people, you are just one person away from your life being completely different. You just never know where a connection will lead. So I love that.
Right.
Okay. Okay, Andy. I did say that was the last question, but this is the last question. I want you to leave our audience with a quote or a saying, whatever it may be, that you live by or that's changed your life or influenced someone, or maybe you just heard on the radio today.
Mm, yeah. The thing that pops into my mind right away, and I don't even have it verbatim um, memorized, but it basically surrounds the fact that you need to know your worth, Kayla. So it
Mhm.
talks about like a steak. Like you might be able to go get a steak for $12 at the grocery store. It might be 20 at the butcher. It might be $35 at, you know, a more average restaurant, or, you know, you might go to a real high-end steakhouse and pay $125 for it. And ultimately, it just talks about knowing your worth. And, you know, if those around you don't see your value, go and find those that do,
Mhm. You're spot
because
on.
you're worth it. You're, you know, a lot of people, especially in society, there's so much noise, social media especially, and a lot of people, you know, sometimes get into a rut, or get into some tough times, some mental health issues, but just know that you're worth it, you're enough, and just go find the people that really light your fire and really see your value and your worth.
Amen. We're gonna end with that, Andy. Okay, what was it what you thought it would be when we said let's interview each other?
It was nowhere near, and we did not talk about
We
this.
didn't talk
I'm
about
just hearing in the back of my mom and dad are gonna listen to this, and we had an episode last year where I think I mentioned it was like during Lent, and I said, "Boy, I feel bad. I haven't even been to church during Lent." And my parents were listening to it, and my dad told my mom he shouldn't have said that. I heard from it from my brothers, and so I can see my GPA story being another. But Kayla, I share that unapologetically, and, you know, not to even say that I was a screw up, but it's just like, hey, I had to stick to business. I was working 60 to 70 hours a week just because some others were out with the flood and volunteering. I was
Yeah,
down running payloader at Sandbag Central every night when I wasn't working at
that's
the funeral
right.
home. I would split a shift with one of the garbage men who was working down there, and nice guy. He brought me a piece of pizza one night. But
Oh,
anyway, I no, I think it was really good, Kayla. I think it was
well,
good. It was
we
fun to.
didn't talk about it, and I think that's one thing, like, we don't spend hours or time, invested in what we're gonna talk about. When we come on here, it's kinda like, "Let's just talk, let's have conversations," because I feel like that's when the authenticity really comes out, so that's key. I'll be prepared for when you interview me.
Just remember next time they say payback, so what, Kayla?
I would say it out loud, but your parents would probably get mad.
Well,
Oh,
Kayla, episode 101. Thanks for all of the thought provoking conversation, and
mhm.
have a great rest of the week.
I will if you will.
Yeah.
Bye.